Flying sucks, most people will say. And I agree. Flying Ryanair from Manchester to Crete does suck. But there are ways that you can make flights like that, or flights that are even better, just a little bit nicer. All you've got to do is avoid these 6 mistakes, maybe a few more, or take the train or hitchhike, whatever you're into. Honestly, I don't give a rat's ass how you get there. And by the way, yes, I'm filming outdoors today. I made some kind of geeky contraption which clearly isn't working, so I'm an idiot. This video is about flying mistakes, but I'm pretty sure I'll be making a video soon about filming mistakes, because I think my whole contraption is just about to go. But anyway, if a bird decides to drop a blessing on my head, at least it will get a lot of views. So mistake number 1. Oh boy, this one is almost impossible to avoid. I know myself how hard it is, but when your flight is delayed or it's cancelled or whatever has happened, whether it's bad weather, something wrong with the airline, it's hard not to be frustrated. And who are the first people we see from the company? Well, whether we're mad at American Airlines or Lufthansa, the first people we usually see are the flight attendants or the ground staff. And if we're mad or frustrated with an airline, it's hard not to get mad and frustrated with the crew, because they are the frontline people, they're the representatives. But it only ever makes the situation worse. If your flight is delayed, on most airlines, your crew isn't getting paid. So they're at work getting yelled at and harassed by angry passengers, and they're not getting paid. So I've noticed that it's always best to be exceedingly nice, caring and understanding toward the flight attendants and toward the ground staff. And the bonus of this is that among hundreds of angry passengers that are yelling, that want their vouchers for hotels or food or whatever it is, you will stick out. And if you come forward and you're so polite, so delightful with them, they are much likely to give you better service than anyone else who's there, just because you're behaving in a way that makes them want to help you. One time, for example, I found out there was a problem with my ticket as I was boarding a United flight. I scanned it and they were like, so I ended up having to go to a ticket desk, and when boarding was closing, I would have missed my flight if my ticket issues weren't resolved. So I go to the service desk, I get to the front of the line, mission aborted, I'm not doing this. Okay, welcome to the great indoors. Let's continue. Okay, so back to the story. I was stressed as hell, obviously. I went to the counter, stood in line, and when I finally got to an agent, explained my situation, she just looked at me like this and said, "I don't care, my shift is over." Okay, thanks. In these situations, you just have to channel your inner Ellen DeGeneres and be terminally delightful, because lashing out in return just because they're frustrated doesn't help. The second mistake I was making until very recently, which is not protecting myself. You gotta use protection. While traveling and flying especially, you're constantly connecting to random Wi-Fi networks all over the world on planes, also the thousands of other people have connected to. And anytime you are logging into these networks like airplane Wi-Fi, you are vulnerable because your information is being submitted onto this network. So luckily there are a bunch of services in VPN you can use to protect yourself. So personally I use Dashlane and their built-in VPN, which now has the benefit of allowing you to select which country you want your VPN to be from. Hello, watching US TV shows. So not only is your network and private information protected with the VPN, but Dashlane also has the added benefit of keeping your ID and card information safe, yet accessible while you're on the road through their platform. I recommend downloading Dashlane right now so you have it on your computer and your phone next time you're on a flight, because you're gonna regret trying to download it once you're on that snail slow airplane Wi-Fi. Dashlane is a free service and they're giving away their premium memberships for free for 30 days using the link at the top of the description. And the first 200 users to use code NONSTOPDAN will get 10% off their premium memberships going forward. So check them out so you have protection for your future flights. My third tip helps you avoid being the next Dr. Dow, because we don't want that to be us. This mistake is waiting to check in until you get to the airport. Now, I'm the type of person who always arrives with a second to spare. I'm never late, but I'm never early. Earliest I'll ever arrive is about 30 minutes before the flight. Usually I aim for 15, not recommended. And this means I'm always one of the last people to check in for my flights. So why should you avoid this? Because the later you check in, the higher your sequence number will be. And now you're asking, what on earth is a sequence number? Well, every boarding pass and airline computer system counts you not as a person, you're not John Smith, you are your sequence number. So if you're passenger 241 to check in, you're passenger 241 to the airline. And when things go wrong, whether your flight is overbooked or there's an equipment swap for a smaller plane, anything like that, the people with the highest sequence number, assuming you don't have elite status, if you're the last passenger to check in and there's one passenger overbooked and there's no volunteers, you will be the one who's involuntarily bumped in most cases. So that's why you want to check in online, preferably as early as possible to avoid any of these situations. It's so easy to check in online, but I'm a hypocrite because I rarely do it. I can't be bothered to check in online, and I get to the airport last, and I get a low sequence number. So my fourth mistake relates to food and drink. Everyone's favorite thing, right? So first, let's talk about eating and drinking too little, which is the group I'm in. The Aerospace Medical Association recommends that you drink between 0.2 and 0.4 liters per hour of flight. This is about, I guess, 8 to 16 ounces per hour, meaning if you're on a 10-hour flight, you need to drink 2 to 4 liters of liquid. Now, translating that into airline cups, that's about 20 cups of drink during a 10-hour flight. Damn, that's a lot. And the longer the flight, the more you want to drink per hour. Now, there is no way that I actually drink 20 glasses on a 10-hour flight because I would be getting up to pee all the time. And if you're in economy and you're in a window seat, your neighbor's gonna hate you if you're drinking 20 glasses and you're constantly getting up to pee. This is kind of an interesting recommendation. I don't know exactly how it's supposed to work, but the idea is you want to hydrate as much as possible. Now, when it comes to food, airline meals are generally quite small, so I will find myself quite hungry often, at least in the middle of a flight. So what I do is I try to bring some kind of snacks, whether it's nuts or pretzels, just a little something to make sure I'm not under eating. But that brings us to the issue of overeating, which is also a problem, especially when it comes to desserts, because somehow, even I'm guilty of this, you're on a plane and you think that, oh, desserts don't count here. Dessert, salad, same. So I don't know about you guys, but when I'm home, I don't have desserts every day. And meanwhile, on a transatlantic flight from London to New York, you can be served a meal right after takeoff with a dessert. Then 3 hours into the flight, you're served an ice cream, and then before landing as well, you're served another meal with another dessert. So you're having 3 desserts in a span of like 8 hours, which you normally never would. And my attitude was always, I'm on a plane, it doesn't count. Then I started thinking, wouldn't I rather save this until after landing? If I'm going to Paris, wouldn't I rather have like the delicacies that I can have there as dessert rather than this airline brownie that expires in 2024? So the lesson with this is, don't forget that just because you're on a plane doesn't mean the food is healthier than what it is down there. So the 5th mistake is something that Oscar told me to add, and that is related to packing, what you bring on board. Make sure you bring everything you need, but not too much. This means bring one spare set of clothes so that if your suitcase is lost or delayed, you have a change, but you don't need to bring your entire closet in your carry-on. Yet, there are some things you absolutely always want to have in your carry-on. This includes all valuables, all cash, but of course you want to keep them in a safe place where no one can just stick their hand in your hand luggage and get it. You don't want to check those things in because the risk is much higher in your checked luggage. And this also goes for things like chargers that you're gonna want on a flight. Don't forget to bring them in your hand luggage. Comfort items like a neck pillow, ear plugs, anything like that that will make you sleep more comfortably. And of course, entertainment. I always bring my Kindle. I have headphones so I can listen to music or an audiobook. So bring all this stuff on board, but always make sure you're not that guy who's carrying a 20-kilo suitcase on board. Sir, we can tell that suitcase is overweight, and we can tell it's going to break the overhead lockers. Keep it light and efficient. The last mistake you want to avoid, at least for this video, is not having lounge access. And I know that sounds pretentious as But it's true, not having lounge access is so last decade. Several years after my parents got divorced and my brother and I could finally see our family again, because drama, we started traveling to New York a few times a year to visit them. Now at this time, our dad had managed to get a job that took him to Europe a few times a year for business. He was flying in economy, but in those days you earn miles based on distance flown, not on money spent, which you do on most, at least US airlines right now. So he was Star Alliance Gold, but not a single time, zero, none, did we ever go to a lounge, even though we could get in, and we were flying economy, so he was our ticket to get in with his gold membership, but we never ever went. But nowadays, you don't even need elite status to get into a lounge. There are so many ways to get access, whether it's through credit cards, they can have contracts with different lounges, or priority pass, which you get through many credit cards, which gets you access to over 1,000 lounges worldwide. So long story short, you can and should be enjoying free drinks, free food, and relaxation before your flight instead of running around in the airport like it's a zoo. And you can even get a straight up priority pass membership, skipping the credit cards and everything wherever you live, so you can access lounges. It's quite affordable if you fly decently often, and I'll link it all in the description. That's it for today's video. If you have any suggestions on how to avoid other mistakes, please leave them in the comments below. I know I, and probably some of you guys, will look forward to reading through that to see what else we should avoid doing. And hopefully we can create like a little forum here where we never make any mistakes again. I can't wait to see what y'all share, because you are a creative bunch. I can't wait to see you in the next video on Friday. Until I see you then, fly safe.